BC. All right, all right. All right, all right, all right. We ready, we ready. Me, 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 me. All right, cool. We're good, we're good. You are now watching Juke Boy Sports Show. I am your host, Kyng Ralph, chilling, solo dolo, like we always do. Make sure, hope everybody's doing great in TV land, as I always say. But we got a good show ahead of us. But before we get started, make sure if you want to do any podcasts like what you're watching, photo shoots, music videos, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And then make sure you go and subscribe, follow, like, share, all that good stuff. Comment, um, like the Facebook page, the He Say She Say channel. Go subscribe at Juke Media or just type in Joint Universal Creatives, creatives with a K. Follow us at Juke Sports Show on Instagram. Follow me at everything I just mentioned: TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, all that good stuff at KYNGRALPH at an underscore for X or Twitter. And we got a good show ahead of us. Talking about Caitlyn Clark again. This time she has made the news because she was left off the USA team. Now, all this hoopla is kind of getting tiring, to keep it a buck. I was talking to my mom about it. Um, it's the way that people act. It's starting to make you dislike her, which doesn't necessarily like. I got to take it out on us on somebody. So a little bit gets pointed at her. But the question is, did Caitlyn Clark get snubbed? No, by no means. When you look at the names of the people that are on the list, you you think of Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, Diana Taurasi, Jackie Young. Then we go. Let me pull up the list real quick. Wait, no, not soccer. All right, so then we got Nafisa Collier, Kalia Copper, Chelsea Gray, like I mentioned, Brittany Griner, Jewel Lloyd, Kelsey Plum, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionesco, to name a few. And this is where we go back to the question, and it's, was she snubbed? And I'm gonna say no, she was not snubbed. When you think about everybody that's been on there, Alyssa Thomas was another one from the Connecticut Sun. It's their first time, her first time in the Olympics, and there's many layers to this conversation, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form was she snubbed. Now, could for the growth of the sport that she's having, and I'll talk about the growth that they had in the next topic, but in the growth with the growth of the sport, has she helped grow the sport? Yes, tremendously. Her, Angel Reese, this new rookie class, done phenomenal job of bringing some more viewership and a different aspect to the game, and it's growing the game in a positive direction. But do we, by just for that, do we put her on the team? No. Like the thing about it is, when you're going and you're playing in a world tournament, Olympics, for instance, you're playing against players who have been playing together on like teams like Belgium, teams like France, Australia. Those players grew up playing together. And so for us to just go out there thinking we could throw 12 random basketball players out there and think that we just gonna run through everybody, it's just we're not there anymore. Now, the one thing that you could possibly say is the women's team has won 7 in a row, and when it comes to gold medals in the Olympics. So it's like, yeah, you could have put her on the team because we were gonna win anyway. But you don't want to be that cocky, especially with if you've ever had a conversation or heard the way that people talk about Americans, they already look at us as arrogant and cocky anyway. So to think that you could just throw 12 random basketball players together and put them out on that court and you're playing against players who know each other like the back of their hand, they can close their eyes and know where their teammate's supposed to be on this particular play. And in this instance in the game where Caitlyn Clark wasn't there for any of the mini camps. She's never played with any of the girls on the team. She probably hasn't even played on the same court as some of the girls that are on that team. And so you have four players from the Las Vegas Aces that are on that team. You have three players from the Phoenix Mercury who are on that team. You have, I think, only two people on the team have only played in one Olympics, where everybody else has been on multiple Olympic teams. Diana Taurasi's been on six. Asia Wilson's been on multiple ones. Um, And so when you start to have these conversations, you got to think about all of these things and to throw her out there where she's not killing the W right now. Like she's putting up pedestrian numbers, rookie numbers. There she's playing well. She's the first rookie to do some of the things that she's been doing, but when we're talking about a world tournament, I'm not just grading you against other rookies, I'm grading you against the best players in the world. And so when we start to have this conversation of whether or not she was snubbed, I can sit there and go Arike Agumbwale from the Dallas Wings, who's averaging 26, 27 points a game, left off the team. And so it's good because Caitlyn was announced as an alternate. So if someone gets hurt or someone can't play, she's going to get put in. But then also she gets an opportunity to go to the mini camps, to go to the training camps, be able to be around those veterans, get to know them. They can get to know her and she can learn some things from them. And so, do I think she's snubbed? No. Do I think it was an opportunity where they probably could have thrown her out there? I can see where people are coming from with that. But then you can have an instance where in 2004 we put LeBron, Melo, D Wade out on the court or out on the WM or in the USA team, and we lost, and they didn't really play much. So do we go and put her out there where she's not physically ready to play, and then we just have her on the team for viewership, or do we throw her out there? She's not ready, and then we lose. So I think with the way that people got to look at it, the goal of going to the Olympics is to win and get a medal, gold medal at that point. If you're putting the best 12 basketball players on out there, which you could argue that Diana Taurasi is no longer one of the best basketball players out there, but her numbers are right along with Caitlin Clark. But she's been in the league, and she's this is her sixth Olympics that she will be taking a part of. So that leadership, that experience, um, she's a lot of people feel like she's the GOAT in some instance when it comes to the W. And so I feel like Caitlin Clark and her fans, not her specifically, but her fans got to chill out. And this the ratings, and I'm going to talk about the ratings in a little bit. The ratings have been going up over the last couple of years prior to Caitlin Clark being in the league, and so yes, she's making an effect and bringing eyes that weren't there, but you can't say it's she's bringing eyes when she's not even on the screen, and that's the part that I'm going to get into here. So WNBA sets records for ratings and attendance over the last month or two. And so approximately half the games have been sold out. They've doubled their number of sellouts from last year. Approximately 400 fans have attended games. It's the most through the first month in 26 years. Arenas have been filled to 94% capacity, which is a 17% rise from last year. And so for people to be saying this is the league as a whole, not just Indiana Fever games, not just Chicago Sky games, because that's another thing. I'm arguing with someone on YouTube earlier in the comment section saying that Caitlin Clark has brought the eyes and not Andrew Reese, but everything related to the Chicago Sky has skyrocketed since she's been on that team. And their attendance is better, the ticket sales is better, TV viewership is better, TV ratings is better, jersey sales are better. And so it's like they've, which I could see where people are coming from to go back to the Caitlin Clark snub conversation. But do we call this the Caitlin Clark effect? You could, but I'm gonna say no. Once again, I do think that Caitlin Clark is bringing eyes, and it would be disingenuous of me to ignore the viewership that she's bringing to the game. But if she's not on the screen or she's not at the game, how can you blame or put that on Caitlin Clark and give her the credit for why the game is booming right now, where people are watching Sparks games, people are watching the Aces, trying to see if they can go back to back to back three-peat. People are trying to see if Alyssa Pilley gets on the court. People are trying to see Arike go out and get 30 every night. Like, people are trying to see who can pretty much knock the Aces out. And so I think the game is at a good spot, and I enjoy the conversations that are being had. But to some degree, we are doing too much and doing the ladies that have been in the league prior to this year a disservice by only talking about Caitlin Clark and then talking down on anybody else like they just never existed. And Caitlin Clark is honestly, if it was just talking about play, she'd be lucky to make the All Star team. But she might make an All Star team just strictly off of the popularity. Um, and so I'm not going to say this is a Caitlin Clark effect. I will say that it's everything is happening the way that it's supposed to happen at the right time. If you go back two national championship games ago, Andrew Reese goes like this, and Caitlin Clark's face, which is something that she did to Haley Van Lith when they played Iowa. She was out there talking trash. She out there waving people off. Go ahead and shoot that bull. When they're wide open, they miss, and so they go play LSU. Andrew Reese gets that dub, hand waving in the face, pointing at ring fingers, and so from there, Andrew Reese became the villain. We prop up Caitlin Clark as the Great White Hope. They lose even, and then the first lady says, "Oh, I want to invite them to the White House," even though they lost, which has never happened before. So that creates a conversation and a narrative that has carried on throughout their careers to the point where Angel Reese became the villain, and we look at Caitlin Clark as this savior. And so it also goes along with how great and how good the talent is in the league as we speak. And so, yeah, you can say it's a Caitlin Clark effect. I think it's the group as a whole, because where we are today, you got the Jujus, you got Paige Buchers or Beckers who's coming in next year, who, if it wasn't for her getting hurt, we probably wouldn't be talking about Caitlin Clark as the greatest women's college basketball player, because Paige was that girl until she blew her knee out, and then it took her a few years to get back, and she bodied Caitlin in this past year, and so I don't know. I just for me, I just want to give credit where credit is due. Caitlin has been doing a phenomenal job. She's handling things well, has a great PR team, taking the high road a lot of times, and she's gonna have her time, but give it time. It's not like with anybody else. When Zion came in, it's like we weren't ready to crown him whatever, even though he had all this hype. When LeBron, people talk bad about LeBron coming into the league, and so give it time. She's gonna have her moment to be in the Olympics. She's gonna play in the Olympics for years to come. All WNBA teams, all star appearances, and but just chill out and acting like she's the like nobody cared about WNBA until she came along. Is That's just false. And so the other day, Gil, No Chill Gil and the Gil's Arena crew, they were discussing the shooting guard, top five shooting guards and in the league and or of all time. And Rashad McCants made some crazy statements talking about taking Dwayne Wade off the list and putting T Mac on the list. Now, for me, if you've ever heard me talk about basketball, you know where I stand when it comes to um, the top five shooting guards. And so I think when we start to have this conversation, we have to look at it's a couple different layers. There's many layers to it. I think that at the top of the list, I think Kobe, Mike, and Dwayne Wade, not in that order. Is Mike, Kobe, Dwayne Wade in that order. Then after that, it's a conversation of four and five. And so for me, I'm gonna put AI at four and T Mac at five. I know you want people want to say James Harden and what he was able to do, won an MVP, struggled in the playoffs, which is why for me, I'm gonna put T Mac in there, although T Mac has struggled, had his struggles in the playoffs as well. But when you go back and you look, I've done my research. T Mac, when it came down to it, go and look at who his second and third best players were on his teams when he was struggling to make it out of the first round. If you go back to those Orlando Magic team, if Grant Hill is there, they're definitely winning more basketball games. So then now he's not there. Daryl Armstrong and Mike Miller are his second and third best players on those teams when he's with the Orlando Magic. Then he goes to Houston, still hooping, but then you got Yao Ming, who's a great big, very underrated center of all time. Did a lot for the sport when it came to bringing viewership from China and the fans from China, spreading the game globally. But he had a team at that point, but then he had his injury issues and Yao had his injury issues. So for a 9 year span, he was a 7 time All NBA, 7 time All Star, 2 time scoring champ. And we argued, I remember there was a legit argument for him versus Kobe, who was better. Now, Kobe's work ethic and whether or not T Mac was had the same work ethic, eventually Kobe, through his longevity and everything, he he expanded that gap between the two of them to the point where now Kobe is the second best shooting guard of all time, in my personal opinion. But T Mac, what he was able to do, he had no holes in this game. He was a willing defender, willing passer, playmaker, prolific scorer, 6'8", 6'9", go to the rim, post up, take you off the dribble. That that hang dribble was crazy to the point where KD adopted it into his game. And so for me, as much as James Harden has put up crazy numbers, if we go and we translate things throughout history, I'm not even finna do the whole like what if thing, but you have to because we're comparing people in which the time periods that they played in. And so T Mac playing in that 2000s era, if we open things up and now we're allowed to shoot more threes, he was a better shooter than Kobe was, and Kobe's game translated. So why wouldn't T Mac's game translate at the same rate and maybe more? And so for me, what I've watched them over the years. I do not think that James Harden is a better basketball player than T Mac. And I'm gonna say it's when I do my comparisons, I look at people at their peak and how long was that peak. Now, if this was a thing where T Mac only had a 3 year peak, then I would be having a different conversation of where James Harden is on this list. But for me, I think James Harden is an honorable mention at six. And then at that point, you got the likes of a Vince Carter, you got the likes of Ray Allen, Ginobili, Clyde Drexler are people that would be in that list next up if we were doing a top 10. But for me, I got Mike at one, Kobe at two, D Wade at three, AI at four, and T Mac at five. And so, with got to talk about the NBA Finals. Things are not going the way that the Mavericks fans would like them to go, but you just got to talk about it. It is what it is at this point. And so, I think when it comes to this NBA Finals, it's been a rough one, man. Like Kyrie struggling, Luca looked like he out there looking like a cone when it comes to doing drills. And Jason Tatum is not playing well, but the others for the Celtics. And so it leads me to ask a couple questions of at this point, who is more important to the Celtics for their success? And I think when it comes down to it, I think Drew Holiday and Jason and Jaylen Brown are the two more important players for this team. I think that Jason Tatum has the potential to go off for 40 every night, but the way that he plays the game when the game matters is just so wishy-washy for me. I feel like he gets falls too in love with the jumper, where the thing about Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday is if the shot is not falling, they're going to get to the rim. They're going to affect the game in other ways, which although Jason Tatum is struggling, you still see him playing good hard defense, distributing the ball in other ways. But I just wish out when things weren't his jumpers not falling, that he would just get to the rack, bro. Like just put your head down, get to the hole. At that point, like if he played that way, if he had the same mentality that Brown had, I feel like Jason Tatum would be clear and above the best player on that team. But I think too often he falls in love with that step back jumper that, bro, just go to the hole, man. Nobody can guard you. You're 6'9", 6'10", playing lining up at the 3 and the 4, and you're fat, and but you have the guard the skill set of a two guard. And that's the thing for me that I hate. And it's like at this point, if if things continue to go this way, there's no way he wins the Finals MVP. And as much as people want to put him, the NBA is putting him up there as the face of the league. Like Jaylen Brown wins Eastern Conference MVP. If he could have a stellar, two stellar games and victories for them, whether or not it's a sweep or not, I had it Celtics in 6 originally. We'll see what happens tomorrow when they play. But in the end, if he can, if Jaylen Brown can step up, there's no reason why he can't win the MVP. Where the game one it could have went to anybody, and game two it was Drew Holiday. Now can Drew Holiday step up and be that person for the next for a game a third victory and a fourth victory, and now he could possibly win the Finals MVP. And then the thing about with the Mavs, who needs to step up for the Mavs? And Kyrie struggling. I think when it comes down to it, Luca Luca got to stop being a drill cone. Yo, like at some point, I don't care if you putting up a triple double, a 35-point triple double every night. If you can't guard nobody, you got to get stops when it truly matters. And so for me, Luca got to play better defense. Kyrie got to start knocking shots down, and the others got to lift them up. Now we're gonna see what happens when it comes to when they go to Dallas for Game 3. Hopefully, Hardy can get some more minutes. Who's put up some crucial? He's hit some crucial shots for them in the previous rounds, and he's a amazing offensive talent. So I would like to see him get a little bit more burn going forward and be a difference maker. But we'll see. I still got Celtics in 6. I think it's possible for the Mavs to get 2 games. So far, the Celtics did what they were supposed to do. They won at home. Now we'll see what the Mavericks can do and how they respond. And so we had our off top segment where coming off the top, Danny Hurley declines the Lakers coaching job. My thoughts on this, man, is just like, why would I want to, if I got something good over here in college, if you're not going to give me control or make it where the money is just worth it, like 6 years, 70 mil, where it's looking like he could possibly get 6 years, 60 mil at UConn, 10 mil a year. I have creative control. I'm the king of the castle essentially, and I'm coming off of back-to-back championships. Why would I come to a team where there's a bunch of dysfunction? It seemed like LeBron making all the decisions, and there's no real stability in the position. And so I don't blame him. Like, I think that Lakers head coaching job is such an overrated position. People look at the Lakers as this like, ooh, it's the Lakers. But it's like, what about the Lakers over the past since LeBron has been with the Lakers makes you want to stay over there? Luke Walton had a young team. LeBron comes, they trade everybody, a bunch of good young pieces for AD. You get rid of Julius Randle, you get rid of D'Lo, you get rid of Lonzo, you get rid of Josh Hart for AD. Takes a couple years. Frank Vogel comes in, he wins a chip, and then it gets fired the next or within a year or two after the winning the chip. Darvin Ham comes in, he gets him to a Western Conference Finals last year, makes the playoffs this year, gets fired too. So why would I want to give up being the king of my castle to come over here? And it's a 6 year deal, but I can get fired in 2, 3 years if things don't go the right way. And so, as much as it would be cool to be able to coach a LeBron, coach a AD, be the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, I just it's an overrated job in my personal opinion, and I don't blame him for wanting to go back to college for at least another year, go for the three-peat, and then at that point see what the landscape is looking like. And so when I read this one was kind of like funny to me. So Los Angeles Clippers are getting a new arena. I forget the name of the arena, but um, they took over the Forum. I believe this is where the Forum was in Inglewood, and they're going to have their own stadium, kind of making it their own thing. They take all of they pretty much got all the college or high school basketball jerseys from the state of California, and they're going to hang them up on their wall. The reason why I found this funny is they don't have any championships, so it's nothing like for them to put up as far as banners and a bunch of historic things of like the Lakers. This is like one of the most Clipper thing that can happen is them putting up, but I've putting them putting up the high school jerseys because they don't have any other jerseys to really be putting up in the rafters. And so I think it's cool. I think it is a cool thing. Um, going to a and putting it in Inglewood, grabbing the high school jerseys from the state of California, kind of gives it a sense of community in the end, in all seriousness. And I think it's a cool thing to be able to reach out and branch off into those communities and make it more like home for you because they've been playing as they've been the step the ugly stepchild to the Lakers in the Staples Center for the longest time. And so gotta stay hydrated, y'all. But so Gilbert Arenas was on the Pat Bev podcast, and they were talking about players that represent it. So if you're gonna do go through history, do a Mount Rushmore for the best players or players that represented the 2010s, what players would you go? So obviously you go LeBron, obviously you go Steph, obviously you go KD, and then at that point you can have a conversation of who's the fourth. So if you're doing a Mount Rushmore for the 2010s, who do you put in that fourth spot? You can go Mr. Triple Double with Russ. You can go 2020 step back, James Harden, or you can go with the claw and with Kawhi. And this thing here is it's a crazy conversation to have because I just personally feel like the longevity of a Kawhi Leonard, where how long has he been in the league? So Kawhi's rookie year was all right. 11-12 was his rookie year. And so I think that he has just as much of a stake at that fourth spot as some of the other guys. Now, was he counted on to be the guy everywhere he went? No, by no sense of the word. But at the same time, what he was able to do and what he was able to accomplish everywhere he went is been nothing short of phenomenal. And so he spent 7 years with the Spurs and won two titles with them. Won a title with, and he was a Finals. I think he won one title and was a Finals MVP with the Spurs. Won another title with the Toronto Raptors as a hired gun, essentially. And what he's been able to do when he's on the court is been nothing short of phenomenal. Defensive Player of the Year, mid-range killer, but also at the same time, you got to be honest about him and his health. So for me, if I'm taking Kawhi out, I would probably go Russ over James Harden if I'm grabbing someone just because of the tenacity he played with, being able to go 4 years, 4 years of averaging a triple double where nobody had done it since Oscar Robertson did it in the 70s, I think is nothing short of phenomenal. The way that he stays out of trouble, is a pillar of his community, father on the court, off the court, plays hard every game, rarely misses games in an era where people are doing load management. For me, if I had to teach someone and just show someone like, hey, I want you to picture and have play like this, I would much rather take a Russell Westbrook, someone that's going to play hard every night, and that motor is going to keep churning and keep going every night. Give me Russ over James Harden. But if I can ignore the injuries, what Kawhi does when he's on the court, offensively, defensively, he can shoot the heck out the rock. He can lock up and get a stop and create and control a game on the defensive end as well. So give me Kawhi if I'm gonna go through history and talk about players from the 2010s. Give me Kawhi, KD, Steph, and LeBron to represent my Mount Rushmore for the 2010s. And so, with the last little bit of time I got left, Christian McCaffrey is officially the Madden 25 NFL cover athlete. And every time this happens, I just think about growing up and watching like cover athlete after cover athlete. And there was a Madden curse at one point. And I think it low key ended with Lamar. Lamar didn't have any injuries when he was a cover athlete, but he did have injuries on his team that kind of derailed the team itself. Patrick Mahomes was another one that was a cover athlete, but didn't have any injuries the year after that. Then John Madden takes over. Then we have Josh Allen. Didn't have any crazy injuries, but didn't have the success in the season that he would have liked. And so now we have Christian McCaffrey, who low-key had an injury history before he got to to the 49ers. So I wish him nothing but the best. I think last year he could have possibly been an MVP. He was an MVP finalist. He did win Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC. So he very well could have been the MVP. So I feel like him being a cover athlete is being he is well deserved. My only issue as a Raider fan, I don't think we played them in 2 years. Why they use a picture from 2 years ago as his cover, as the cover of Madden? Like I just dislike that. I'm a little salty. Keep it a buck. But hey, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Subscribe at Joint Universal Creatives with a K, or type in Juke Media on YouTube and subscribe. Like the He Say She Say channel on Facebook. Follow us at Juke Sports Show on Instagram. You can follow me at KYNG at TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, at KYNGRALPH, add an underscore for X or Twitter. And I appreciate you all for watching. See you next week. Peace out.